All right. So, Algeria's a place. That sucks.
We've come to the decision that geography is a detriment to human society.
No. Just Algeria, man. I'm
Just
cool with like
Algeria.
I'm cool with like Albania, Australia, Vietnam. I'm cool with all those
But
places.
some of these places have things in common.
Yeah, but those are cooler than
They
Albania.
were all colonized,
Sure,
And we're all united
Albania,
in one field. Our
being
hatred of
Albania.
Albania is the coolest place. They all wear black.
eagle on the
on our chest. All
Okay,
right,
all right.
this is welcome to the A podcast, where we're going to talk
The A
about
podcast.
the A podcast. Today we're going to be talking about Algeria, and because I am a terrible person that knows how to write, we're going to be breaking the rules, and we're going to go over the 7-minute cap, starting with our discussion over Algeria and what Algeria really is. It's a state of mind, essentially. So I am Adam
Okay.
Seknica. I guess I'm going to be running the podcast today. Here with my
Yep.
partner, we have. What do you?
Cabe.
Yup. And then we've got our special guest, the only person here with an actual degree and knows what they're talking about.
Howdy. I'm Kosher Salt. You can just call me Kosher. They, them. I have a degree in secondary education with a focus in history, and I am not qualified for this as my knowledge of Algeria is limited to a very specific meme. I'll
All right.
post that when the time comes.
Okay. So, how many of you know? What do you know about Algeria? It's a place.
It's a
Civil War
place.
there.
We went to not just a war, but we went to war with them once.
Yeah, the
In
Barbary
Algeria.
War.
Occupied by they were occupied by the Ottomans and
The French. Yeah.
And the
And
French.
then they
So-
revolted and were like, ha ha ha.
We're
ha, ha, ha.
gonna begin this podcast going over the political facts of Algeria, right? So Algeria is a state in North Africa in the Maghreb, which the Maghreb is like Northwest Africa. It's the Arabic term. It literally means it comes from the Arabic term al-Maghrib, which means the West. It's the largest state in Africa, just over 900,000 square miles. But despite this large size, very little of it is inhabited due to the fact that the southern part of Algeria is the Sahara Desert. Ain't nobody lived there except for the
Basically,
coolest people.
It basically it's
Berbers?
lots of sand and lots of heat, and nobody likes that. They'd rather
Remember,
like not.
You are correct, Kosher. The Berbers are the coolest people. So,
I'd say Albanians are cooler.
all right. So,
So
Algeria has a semi-arid climate like most of North Africa, right? So, barely anybody lives, barely any kind of like farming goes on. It's a lot of like ranching and herding and stuff like that.
It's mostly for economic. It's a trade stop, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not used for agriculture. It's used for trading, and it's a major trade point on what was it called? It was
You'll notice like a
I'm
pattern.
stupid.
Clemson. Whatever. You'll notice a pattern though, where a lot of like political upheaval in Algeria starts due to bad harvests because they don't have a lot of food to go around. So
Yeah.
there's prevailing like westerly
go on.
winds that cause like the wind blows, and you think that like the wind would like erode like what mountain faces and stuff like that, but it actually does the opposite and it keeps it preserved. Everything like from the west and anywhere facing north actually gets preserved by the moisture that the wind brings, and because the mountains to the south in Algeria actually stop the wind, it causes the Sahara Desert to be formed. So
okay.
so like, but Algeria is a part of the Maghreb, right? Which the Maghreb is just Northwest Africa, and because it's a Maghrebi state, right? It has shared characteristics like everything else, like Morocco and Tunis, where they have Berber populations and they have their own regional variants of Arabic. And because they are still a part of the Arab world, however, they are very much cut away from the Eastern Arab world. Like you notice, like a lot of like Maghrebi states didn't actually participate in like the Arab Spring and stuff. So you get stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? So Algeria.
Yeah.
Algeria as a state is multi-ethnic, right? So there's an Arab majority, but a significant population are actually Berbers, right? So the Berbers are
Because they're lame.
no, the Berbers are awesome.
Wait,
And
hold
But
on. Was
they're
I
not
right when I
Algerian.
guessed the Berbers?
They're not Albanians.
they're not, but nobody's Albanian here, so you gotta have to
Listen, is this a podcast about Albania? No.
It's just about
I wish it
Algeria.
was.
Oh, if only we
That'll
chose
be the
Albania.
second episode.
Second episode,
What the
Albania.
fuck is Albania.
So the Berbers, right? They live in a bunch of tribes that are kind of like split up. and they're technically the native people of Algeria, despite the fact that the Arabs live there more. They are technically a colonizing people. However, the Arabs and the Berbers are kind of like coexisting with themselves. We don't have a lot. They don't
Kind of
have a
like
lot of like problems with each other.
I'm
it's
sorry,
kind of
Ladnie,
like
but you know my
how
stance on
like a
colonization.
lot of the American population is white and like black and all of this, but the natives were
Natives were there
Native
first.
Americans. They were not
Yeah.
there.
Yes, but
Yeah.
I don't think I need to understand. I don't think I need to explain to you who the Arabs are. So let's talk about the Berbers. So there's four major tribes in Algeria. There's the Kabyles who live in Kabyle, which is a northeastern region of Algiers, right? Like
Mhm.
it's a region east of Algiers. The major city of Algeria. And then there's the Chawi who live in northeast Algeria, kind of near where the Kabyles live. And then there's the Tuaregs who are the coolest ones, and they live out in the desert. We won't learn about them because they live out in the desert.
They don't do anything.
And
Well,
then
I'm
there's
sure they
the
do something, just
and
not
then
in
Would
this
they
there's
do?
story.
there's
Would
the
they do something? It's
Shenhua
just like,
too.
hey, guess what?
And then there's the Shenhua who live in northern Algeria, and they kind of just like inhabit the entire coast. Um,
Because they're lame. Because they're lame.
but because Algeria is a part of the Arab world, right? It is majority Sunni Islam, right? So it's
Mhm.
Sunni Muslim, more accurately, to the point where it is almost 100% Sunni Muslim. The only other like religious group with a significant population is the Ibadis, which are a Sufi the denomination of Islam, which means everyone's a Muslim, right? There's a small amount of Jews and there's a small amount of Christians,
Hey!
yay, and
Jews.
Jews.
We made it!
We
We've
did it.
arrived. But Algeria also has, because it is a colonial state, or post-colonial state, it has a large, well, not a large, but a small minority of white Algerians of French descent. They are known as the colons, which is spelled like colon, and that's funny to me. Um, but yeah, we'll learn about what they do when we start talking about French independence or French independence causes and stuff like that, right?
Yes, French independence.
French independence from
I think.
Algeria, other way around.
Yeah.
Algerian independence from France. So
Yeah.
what we're going to talk about now is we're going to start with their colonialization history. So Algeria's colonial history starts with their independence, right? So what we're
With
going to do, we're going to talk about the Kingdom of Tlemcen, right? So from like
Clemson. That's how I say it, right?
Tlemcen, yes. Um,
Clem.
Tlemcen, yes. Tlemcen. So
Okay.
from like 1235 to like 1554, sorry. There's this state called the Kingdom of Tlemcen that lives in the range of the Algerian city of Tlemcen, which is like in northern Algeria, right? And it's actually it's south of Oran, which is a major city in Algeria that is in the northwest region of it, right?
Yeah, I see it on the map.
Yep.
Yep.
So
Map.
but what it basically ends up being is that the Kingdom of Tlemcen is a major trading power in North Africa and on the Mediterranean.
Because
So
like basically they don't really do anything.
they
They
don't.
just like kind of they don't really have anything. They just get something from
It's
someone else.
yeah. So the Kingdom of Tlemcen basically is where everything enters the Mediterranean from the Sahara,
Mhm.
and everything enters the Sahara from the Mediterranean. It's a major
Because they
key,
want to trade. They want to trade with each other, and they're like about like a midpoint.
but they want a midpoint, right? So that's what
Yeah.
makes Tlemcen a major important city, right? So, however, this is not like the only time that they were like independent, but this is like notable for being one of the like first like kind of like the beginning of the
A major point.
Algerian nation, right? So like before that we had like the Umayyad caliphates and stuff like that, right? But this is a Berber led kingdom, stuff like that. Um, so what we're going to talk about is right, Algeria, Tlemcen has a lot of power, and
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
neighbors of Tunis and Morocco go, "Hey, that's a lot of money you're raking in." So
We like some of
they
that.
get invaded quite a few times, right? So like to the point where like the Marnids of Morocco, the Hafsids of Libya, and then like the Spaniards, like Aragon finds out about Tlemcen, and they go, "Ooh, money."
Money.
Oh yeah. Wait,
It's
what year is
it's
this?
like
This is like the 1200s, right?
Oh
Like late.
yeah,
so.
yeah. This is some
This reminds me
the
of
good King
a
John
special
stuff.
song where Kanye West tells young men not to deal with
What?
women in the gold mining industry. That's what the survive here, because everyone
Please,
outside is trying to get in on the gold mining industry, and they're just like, "No, I'd rather not."
please stop mentioning Kanye of a Jew in the call. All right.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
forgot Kanye is like that now.
I
Dang, I was
do.
just trying to mention
Now?
the song.
Anyways, back to it.
So, right. Yeah, the Aragons come in and they go, "Hey, you got money, hand it over," right? So they tried to take it over a few times, and they actually end up doing it, but we're gonna talk about that later. But like the peak of the Tlemcen kingdom is under the rule of Sultan Abu Malik, who
Mhm.
Abu Malik basically he goes over and he takes over Fez, right, which is in Morocco, right, and that's basically where the Moroccan capital was. So basically, he has complete hegemony over Morocco. But like an idiot, he decides I'm going to take the entire army of Tlemcen and send it into Fez. So he easily crushes Morocco. But the Marnids of Morocco go, hey, the Hasfids of Libya.
I see you have a back that might be worth stabbing. I
so
can kind of see it.
So the Marnids send a letter over to the Hasfids, and the Hasfids go, "Oh God, look at that!" Or Allah, I guess, really. And they go, "Look at
Ooh
that!
la la.
We can take over Tlemcen like instantly because there's nobody there." So the Hasfids send out an army to go take out Tlemcen while Tlemcen is out fighting, right? And
Yep.
what that does is basically it makes Tlemcen from instead of it being like a major kingdom, it becomes like a petty kingdom of like the North Africa, right? They lose basically everything they've got because Abu Malik messes up big time.
Mhm.
Yep. He was an idiot and should have just like not been
Should
an
have
idiot.
not.
Yeah, should have just if you didn't want to lose it, should have just not lost it.
So
Exactly. Like he's trying to go out there and be like, "Yo, I want your land," but he forgot about the land he already had, and just like,
Exactly, five
dang,
head.
so
he he just wanted more, and then he got killed for it. I don't know. He didn't get killed, but
he
like,
didn't get
what
killed. He
did he?
just got subjugated. So
Basically, yeah.
Ooh,
That's
no one
basically
likes to
death.
get subjugated.
so the
At this
Aragons
point in time, that's basically death.
Yep, the
so the
Aragons.
so the Aragonians, right? They're sitting there and they go, "Oh, that pretty state that we wanted to take over out in like North Africa, oh, it's gone now. Well, it's subjugated. It's weak. It's ripe for the taking." So the Spaniards go, hey, Pope, how's it going? You ready for a crusade?" And the Pope goes, "We should get some money down in the north. We should go there." And they send a bunch of guys down there, right? And they send a
Because the
bunch
Pope.
because the Pope decrees it. The Pope really wants that money because that's what
It's
the
the
Pope
Pope.
does.
Yeah.
He's the papal threat, right? And
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
cannot
sure.
argue with this.
and um so they send the papal said they send the papal threat. They do send the papal threat. And they arrive in Tlemcen and Tlemcen gets taken over. Actually, that's not true. um Tlemcen actually staves off the Aragonian invasion for like quite a while, but during the crusade, right, they ended up losing Tlemcen in 1543, right?
Mhm.
So Tlemcen goes, "We're gonna move to Algiers," and this is basically where Algeria comes from now because they have Algeria. It gets named after Algiers because Algiers is basically just like a military like fort that's basically been turned into a city, right? It's
Okay.
basically a
Yeah,
Kasbah turned into a town. So they
kind of
go
like
over
Huh.
Fort Worth.
there, right? And they stay in
Yep.
Algiers for quite a bit in order to keep their sovereignty, and they want to like keep independence. And then the Ottomans come over, and it's basically like going over to a kid that's on like life support and just pulling the plug.
Mm.
So the
Oh,
Ottomans just roll
well,
over, and
that's an analogy that for
the
sure.
Ottomans roll over in like 1551 and go. They don't
Hmm.
even fight. They don't even fight for it. The Ottomans kind of roll up and go,
Yoink.
Huh.
"Ours, hand it over." So they yoink it, right? So
Yeah, just
now
yoink.
Tlemcen is no longer Tlemcen. It is now the Regency of Algiers, which is the Dalwat Al Jaziri in Arabic. So Algeria is now under Turkish control, right? But
Mhm.
that doesn't mean much at all, right? Because
Right.
It's Turkey. You give us
it's
our
Turkey.
taxes and we'll
Give
turn
us our
around. You know?
taxes and we don't care, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So more importantly, too, they're not like the Armenians where they get subjugated because they're constantly, Tlemcen was already a Sunni Muslim state. Like that whole region of the world is Sunni. So
They were basically the same. They were the same religion, so it was kind of just like, yo.
you want to be politically dominated, and they go, oh boy, and
Pay your
Oh
taxes and everything will be
yeah.
fine.
pay your taxes and you'll be all right. Yeah, that's
But they got
something that
like
we should.
better. They got better education and healthcare because of it, didn't they?
Yes, they did. So like
So like, it's
the
kind of a
Ottomans,
win-win.
the Ottomans basically just boost them. They get like an extra, like Tlemcen becomes Algeria, right? But Algeria
They give them
gains.
the original recipe to Coca-Cola, and they're like, "Yo, here you go, guys."
And Algeria basically becomes better off because of it. They get better like education reforms. They get better, like an understanding of how everything works better, right? And I should probably check that the
Better
recording.
life.
I should better check that the recording's still going. Yeah, we're good. Um,
Yeah. Good
That
old,
so
would
good old,
suck.
good old
right.
OBS.
So the Ottoman Sultan, right? He is kind of in control for quite a while. He appoints a bunch of governors, right, that are loyal to him, and then the Ottoman Sultan, being as he is, always, sultans always get weaker and weaker and weaker until the Janissaries put in a new guy who's strong, and then they go weaker and weaker, 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 right? So,
As is intended.
I can't. Hold on.
so
I want to take a moment. In my notes, I had like the education reforms and healthcare, and right under it, I just put the word janissary.
The
Like,
Janissaries are a lot
that's
to
in my
do.
notes. It says 1551 taken by Ottomans. They get benefits from this. Janissary.
Janissary, Janissary,
Like
Janissary.
I didn't elaborate anything on my notes, and I'm just like, bro, what?
so
Why why am I like this?
so the Sultan comes in, right, and he decides at some point he goes, "Man, I'm really tired of having to appoint people every so often when they die. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna relegate it, right? As the Sultan does, and because of it he loses his power in Algeria. So he creates the the Ojak of Algiers, which was a elite military unit, basically just the Janissaries, right? And
Mm-hmm.
the Janissaries now have control over Algeria, which is funny. So the Janissaries sit there and they go, "Oh boy, who do we have that'll further our positions and get us better positions in the Sultan's court, right?" So they just do that. Algeria kind of like suffers because of it, because Algeria is not they're not thinking about what's best for Algeria, they're thinking about what's best for them. So this guy, right? This guy, so the Janissaries have control for like 51 years, and then in 1710, this guy named Baba Ali Chawuch, I think he's a Georgian, really, like.
Hey, wait, no, that
Georgia. I
and
love Georgians, bro. They're awesome.
and
It's not.
Baba Ali basically shows up, right? Baba Ali Chawuch, and he takes over Algeria, right? He starts a coup d'état. He takes
Like a
over
chat.
Algeria, and
Like a chat.
yeah, like a Chad. And he becomes the first day of Algiers until his death in like 1718, right? But like what he ends up doing for that 8 years that he's in power, he takes control of like everything that the Ojduk, sorry, that's not the right Ojak, like had control over, and makes it better. So he, increases independence. He increases about like a lot of wealth coming in because he brings back the pirates, the Barbary pirates. He puts them back in full swing.
Oh right, yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
We're
hey,
gonna talk about the
certified
Barbary
Barbary
pirate.
pirates because the Barbary pirates go hard, right? So
Oh, crazy hard.
Mehmed the
Yep,
Third,
they're awesome.
Ottoman
Oh
Sultan
man,
at the time.
Mehmet the Third. Oh no.
Mehmed the Third keeps
Oh
going.
no.
Hey, Baba Ali, you wanna appoint these governors that are good to me? And Baba Ali, like a boss, goes, "No, I'm gonna appoint the guys that are good to me."
Ooh.
So Baba
Oh, it's
Ali,
almost like there's logic there.
Baba Ali
Incredible.
basically just gives Mehmed the Third the finger, right? And that catches the eyes of like almost everybody paying attention to European politics, right? Because there's a
Mm-hmm.
guy that's now trying to be independent, right?
Yeah,
So
and this is like that weird time where is Turkey European and we're not sure. Keep an eye on them.
yes, they go, hey, I think
Oh,
Turkey's European because they got stuff in Europe. They go, but they're Muslim, and they go, oh yeah,
oh, what are they
If
doing? The
they're Muslim,
colonialism?
they
You
can't
gotta
be
be yes.
European.
they can't be European if they're Muslim. Yeah.
Albania would
Even
So
if
like to
they
make a
live in
reservation.
Albania would
France.
like to have a word. Um,
Albania!
no. So I don't know why we're focusing on Albania. So,
Yeah, back there.
Albania
but
How?
is
yes,
awesome.
Baba Ali, right? He basically makes Algeria like almost independent for like the 8 years that he's a part of. And that kind of draws the eyes of Europe, right? Because they're sitting there and going, oh, Baba Ali is independent. That means that Mehmed III won't give a crap if he gets invaded. So, right? However, what ends up actually coming around that's more important, right, is the Barbary pirates, right? Because the Barbary pirates just
Yep.
pestered the crap out of all of the trade coming into the Mediterranean.
Because
And
they're pirates. They're going to be like, yeah, and then give me your money, and then
that's
they leave.
exactly how it works, yes.
Yeah, it is. Come on now.
Kosher, what do you know about the Barbary pirates?
We went over there. We got our butts kicked, but we'd like to think we didn't get our butts kicked because they got bored of fighting us and left.
Correct. So
we
the
and us in that statement?
Yeah, the United
America.
States. So
these guys are going to be around for hundreds of years.
Yes. So, right, this is like in the early 1800s, because a lot, like 100 years goes by, right, and not much really happens in Algeria, and the European nations just go, we don't care about Algeria anymore, because the Barbary pirates are too much to deal with. Algeria is now continued back into the Sultanate, right? So they just kind of like go away. They don't care.
And most importantly, what pirates they are, it's just easier to pay them off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so,
basically.
The Barbary pirates basically sit there and they go, hey, give us the money. And the United States of America, now currently like a poor nation at this point, right? They're barely paying.
Yeah, cotton gin's not been invented. We're still working on that whole taxation thing.
Yeah, we're in a bad position because it's like, what, 1801 to 1815 is when we fought these wars.
And
so
we don't know how to get taxes, basically.
We're still
our
learning how.
Confederation are bad.
I want to state that we do now.
The IRS is currently knocking on his door right now. So,
John, not John Hager.
I haven't paid my taxes in 7 years.
Hamilton would like to know your location.
So, right. So
I don't pay tax.
The United States is very, very, very mad at Algeria, more accurately the Ottomans, because the Barbary pirates are a thing. So they, along with the United States federal government, along with like everybody else who is mildly annoyed at the Barbary pirates, just go.
And Sweden.
Yeah, and Sweden. Sweden is mildly annoyed as well, and they go, let's send over a bunch of guys. So they send over a bunch of guys. Oh no! You don't understand, man. Sweden was in power at this point. This isn't like
Sweden.
Sweden ruled the world at this point, man. It's like,
but they're still Sweden.
No, Sweden's awesome at this point, and then they get bad when they introduce.
Oh wait, I think
he's gone.
Sweden, gone. The Swedes got him.
Sweden gets bad when they introduce this thing called democratic socialism, but whatever.
Episode 3,
socialism.
Moving on.
Moving on. So, right, the Barbary pirates are being the Barbary pirates. And the United States and everybody else goes, we're going to send over a bunch of guys to go deal with the Barbary pirates. And we fight this long war. It takes 14 years. So it's not actually a long war. It's a pretty okay war at this point in time. And I guess in American history, it's a pretty long war. I think it might be one of our longest wars we've ever fought, besides Afghanistan.
Yeah, except for I think it's third. It goes like that, Vietnam, then Afghanistan.
Those darn Muslims. They make us fight too long.
Actually paid attention to it, because I don't think anybody wanted to, but it's been going on, right?
Yeah. So nobody really cares. It's basically just a way to train the Marines, right?
Yeah. It's like, oh boy, we have something for you guys to do.
But because of the ending of the Barbary Wars, right? The Day of Algiers basically has to be told to hey, can you stop doing your piracy as much as you are? And they go, I guess. So he decides to just reluctantly not do piracy as much as he was before. And more importantly, what had happened 10 years, 20 years before this catches the eye of France, because in 1790, right, Napoleon Bonaparte contracted two Algerian.
Nigerian. Ah, yes. The country we're talking about.
Yeah. So Napoleon Bonaparte, he contracts. I said it like he's got a disease. He contracts two Algerian merchants to supply him with a lot of wheat so he can go to Egypt, right? And
then he doesn't pay them.
He doesn't pay them like a boss.
He's like, bro, I know you just gave me all this wheat, but like I don't care. I'm not
I
gonna pay
don't
you.
care. You're asking for too much money, right? So
Go home.
the two
Good.
Help us,
merchants.
ratio.
Any money's a lot of money for America right now.
And
So
then
like, no, this is
the merchants
Napoleon
are
though.
like,
Oh, important. My
mer-
bad.
merchants are like, this is
This
not
sucks.
okay.
This sucks. So they go to the Dey. They go to the Dey of Algiers, and the Dey sends a letter to France, and France
They're
goes,
like,
and they go, "Hey,
no.
give us your money." And the guy in France sends a guy down there. I don't remember. I can't remember what his name is.
It's
Pierre Deval.
No, wait, yeah,
Pierre
I said the
Deval,
wrong guy.
right? They send this French envoy. He's the French
They're
envoy
just
to
sitting
Turkey,
there.
right? And they send in
They're sitting there like talking, right? And they're like angrily talking at each other. And then one of them finally hits them with what was it again?
Hussein Dey. He hits him with a fly whisk, like a fly swatter, right? Because he's
That's
mad
Yeah,
at him.
good.
And that causes Pierre Deval, to come back to France and go up to Charles X and go, "He hit me," and
wow. And then it's seen as an insult to all of France. And then
it
because
is
like
a.
I want to colonize you.
To be fair, yes, it's basically just like an excuse to colonize Algeria, right? When have
Because
you
like
seen this
they already
before?
wanted Algeria because it's an economic spot, right? Like they want to get the trade posts in that area because it's like the center between South Africa and
South
Europe,
Africa,
right?
So we have now
sub-Saharan
entered.
Southern
Africa,
Africa, sorry, not South
So we
Africa,
have now
Southern Africa.
entered what the historians colloquially call the fun zone.
the fun
The
zone.
fun zone.
It's exactly correct. Have you seen the map of like how like all the like if you like it's like a political map if we considered every single like what's the term? Like freedom fighters
Government.
and like revolutionaries and like in Africa as their own independent state, and
Oh God, yeah.
it looks like a Jackson Pollock painting. It's amazing. And
Is this
Jackson
Algeria?
Pollock.
no, this is just everywhere.
No, is this Algeria during the French?
It's so
Not
all over the
particularly.
place.
But but right, yes. So exactly. So France sends in a blockade, right? And they go, "We're gonna starve out Algeria." And then they remember that. So like the Hussein Day of Algiers, he goes. I like to point out that Hussein means handsome in Arabic, and that's funny to me. He's the handsome day,
Awesome.
right?
Good
So
for him.
Hussein Day, receives like all those notifications that he's being blockaded by the French, and he kind of just doesn't care.
He
Like
was like,
all he
dang,
has
and
to
then
do,
boom.
he goes, "Dang, I don't care," and he sits there for 3 years, and all that the French want from him is an apology, which Hussein Dey obviously realizes is not actually just an apology. He realizes that it's an attempt to
Give me
right,
your land.
give us your land, be subservient to us, right? Because it's basically like becoming somebody's a word I can't say on like the world stage, right? By apologizing to them. So Hussein Dey just kind of sits
This
there for
is
3 days.
for school, so we can't say words like that.
So like for 3 years, Hussein Dey kind of just sits there with like watching the French ships like sail around outside of Algiers and stuff, and he sits there and he goes, "Wow, that's neat." And while he's sitting there, he watches the Barbary pirates quickly sneak past the blockade because they know how to do that because they're pirates, right? So
Oh, crazy.
it doesn't matter to Hussein Dey, right? In because he could literally have sat there for like the end of time because the pirates are going to make their way out. The pirates are going to come back. They're going to get paid. Nothing bad is going to happen to Algeria. And all that really happens to Algeria is that they don't get any trade from like European merchants, which they don't care about anyway, right? So they're just sitting there chilling. They're having a great time. And then Charles X is like, "Why aren't they replying? This is terrible. What are they going to do?" And or what are we going to do? So he sends down Pierre Deval, right, the guy who got hit by Hussein Dey in the first place, and Pierre goes, "Hey Hussein, about that apology, can I get one?" And Hussein Dey takes him and he picks him like he like come with me, and he takes him like out to like the bay, right, and he sets him out and he just gives an order, and a cannonball flies through the air and strikes a French ship, and he goes, "I don't care about your apology," and then he sends him back.
Okay,
This
all
is
right.
this is what historians consider a bad move. So
Mm.
that
I
cannonball.
would say most people, not even like historians, would consider that bad. But I think most people
What
would be like,
is
firing
Well, now hold
on the
up. Now we have a
French.
historian in the chat here,
yes,
to which
Oh,
I
you're right. You're
say,
right.
bad
not as a
move.
historian.
No. I'm saying, not just historians would probably think that's a bad move. It'd be everyone. It's like, firing at the
So
French
Hussein.
when Napoleon Bonaparte was in power.
No, it's
I
Charles
mean,
X.
Oh,
Napoleon
no,
Bonaparte's
I'm an
out by
idiot.
now. But
He's
anyway,
okay. Basically, right after because the French were still powerful.
yes, big power French, right? Although
Basically,
they're
the
kind of on the way
French,
out. They're on the way out, kind of, but whatever.
but they're still the French.
They're still the French. And Hussein kind of does this as like, I guess he's thinking that this would be like an intimidation tactic. Like he thinks that this is gonna scare away the French. Not forgetting that the French have the largest army in Europe at this point in time, other than Russia. Russians aren't
Mhm.
Europeans, and
They're only like a fourth of Europe.
Just gonna skim past that. Carrying on.
Russians are Slavs. They're not human. So
This
so
is true.
I'm a Slav. I
Stay
can say
tuned for
these
episode
things.
4.
I'm a Slav. I can say these things. Episode 4, Yugoslav Wars. All right. Right. So the French go. Charles X goes, "Oh boy, this is what we exactly wanted," because they want an excuse to invade Algeria, or Algiers, technically at this point in time.
They're
So
like, oh boy, it's a place to go.
So Hussein
I
Day,
want
this
this
he
place.
fires that cannonball in July 1930, 1830. I'm sorry, right?
1830, all right?
Yeah,
He
I have
sits
that
there
cited in my notes.
and he fires that cannonball, and what what France has what Algiers doesn't know is that France has a bunch of plans written up by Napoleon Bonaparte where like while he was on
Ooh,
campaign in Cairo, he just kind of had like a plan on the back burner to take out Algeria if this money thing ever came back to him, which
Yeah,
it
just in
did,
case.
but not to him, right? So
so they
Algeria,
just used
they
the
have
plans
this
from before.
they literally just dig up these plans written by Napoleon Bonaparte to go invade Algeria. And
They
what
do that.
And if we know anything about Napoleon Bonaparte, he was really good
he
at
was
doing stuff
really
like
good at
this.
war.
He
So
was he was the guy.
So Algeria is in kind of a dire situation right there, right? So they end up hearing from like some guy, right? Like some merchant, right? That's like, hey man,
Mm-hmm.
the French are here to kill you, Hussein Day. And Hussein Day goes, that's neat. I'm gonna go call my son-in-law. His son-in-law is Ibrahim Aga. Ibrahim Aga is basically he's a bey, right? So he's a chieftain. And
Mm-hmm.
Hussein Day basically goes over to the guy, to Ibrahim Aga, and he goes, Ibrahim, my friend, my son-in-law, I require you to go grab everybody from the nearby area and get them in here and fight. Call jihad. I don't care. We need to defend. So what Ibrahim Aga does is literally he just starts a jihad. So he runs out and he goes out to all the Kabyles, right, outside of Algeria, and he says something along the lines of let me read it, right? He
Oh,
says
Gregory.
he says the Ujak, yes, the Ujak calls you to holy war so that you may reap the benefits in this world and the next. Whoever wants to be happy in the next world must devote himself entirely to jihad when the time is right, as jihad is a duty imposed on us by religion when the infidel is in our territory, right? So he gets like 50,000 soldiers, right? And at the end of that speech, right? I'd like to join jihad. I'm a Christian. I'll still join jihad. Kosher, you want to join jihad?
I,
Dang,
I,
I
I would
mean,
I would be down.
for legal reasons,
Can't say
no
that.
comments.
So, right. So the jihad starts, and he's got like 50,000 guys. So they're on the defense, right? And they're gonna go, yeah, we can do this. The French send 3 divisions. So
That's a couple thousand men, isn't it?
that's about they beat him like 4-1.
Okay.
Ooh.
That's
So the
not
French
great.
they French rock up with 3 divisions, which were literally what was written in Napoleon's plans, right? Is literally just subjugate Algeria with 3 divisions. So they rock up, they land at Sidi Frege, which is a coastal town, right, on the 14th of June in
Mm-hmm.
Algiers province, right? So they're like right outside of Algeria because Napoleon Bonaparte, for some reason, has like access to really good maps of like what Algeria was like? He goes, yeah, that town right there, because it's surrounded by a giant plateau that it's hard to get like any kind of like artillery onto, right? This is
Right.
assuming that the Algerians have good enough like field artillery anyway, which they don't. Everything they got is like 30-pounders and stuff. So it's all like
But
steeped
even if they had
artillery.
something good, it would just kind of they would
It'd be
still
hard to
not
get up
be
there
able to
because
do anything.
they'd have to like move it up mountains and stuff. So the French show up and they just start unpacking, and like 2 divisions are done, and Ibrahim Aga sits there and he goes, "Oh, of course, there they are. They're sitting there and they're not doing anything, even though they have a sizable number of soldiers, not knowing that another division is on the way, right?" And he sits there and he goes, "Now is the time to strike, my friends," and he leads this intense cavalry charge coming down the plateau, and
Mm-hmm.
like the Rite of the Rohirrim, but Middle Eastern, so it's the Rohirrim. So
Carrying on.
they come down, and they clash with the French forces, and they realize that the French forces are much better than them because all that Ibrahim Haga did is he gave a bunch of tribals, right, a bunch of like Kabyle tribals with basic understanding of how to fire a rifle, and then he goes, "Have at 'em, boys." So
Mm-hmm.
they arrive. I just closed out of my notes. That's not good. They arrive and they
This is
start
an
fighting.
Adam moment.
They start fighting, right? And we get into combat, long, prolonged combat. Just kidding. It's over in like 30 seconds. And everybody retreats back up the hill. And the French go, "Oh, they're going back up the hill and they're still within our range." So they just bombard the crap out of them. Like, people just explode constantly. They're all dead.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's not even like a fair fight. It's like taking the Rock, right,
just
and then putting him against a fourth grader that probably sits on Fortnite all day
fourth grader that has to
and
fight
drink
Dwayne the Rock Johnson. He's not gonna win it, right?
and
Mm-hmm.
drinks Mountain Dew and Doritos all day.
Right?
It's let's just say it's a very one-sided fight for the
Yes.
fourth grader.
So the Algerians are like routing, right, at this point when the average IDF moment. Oh, so the Algerians are completely routing and they're like trying to escape back up this hill, and they make camp up there to like harass the forces, and then the cannons
Yes.
go up, and the cannons rout them, and then they send a bayonet charge, and that completely destroys Ibrahim Aga's forces, right?
Wait, so they sent bayonets against a cannon and won.
No, we did. They didn't send the Algerians didn't send bayonets. The French sent bayonets, just the nay on them, right?
Gotcha. Okay. Love it.
So
Love a good
Who
joke.
uses that word anymore? I'm gonna be
I do,
honest.
Carry on.
and
Okay.
right, the Algerian forces are completely shattered. They get the heck out of there. They leave, and what he goes back. Ibrahim Aga, goes back to Hussein Day, and Hussein Day goes, "Man, that's kind of bad. You kind of messed up, my man. Go get your guys back." So Ibrahim Aga just goes and does another recruitment drive. Probably talks about jihad again, and Ibrahim Aga comes back with like a basically the same forces, and then they sit there and they go, "What's the French doing?" And like one of their scouts comes back and they go, "Yeah, the French aren't doing anything." And they go, "Ah, they must be scared of us." They make the same mistake again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Genius.
They are genius.
This is truly the greatest war in
So like
history.
all that they do, right, is they come up to the hills and they just start pestering them, and then they fire cannons at them, and they all explode. Um, but what's different about this time is that the guy who arrives, like one of the French commanders, Amédée du Beaumont, he gets killed. This literally
Mm-hmm.
has nothing else. This has no importance on the campaign. It's just kind of like a minor victory for the Algerians, right?
Oh.
So nothing big
It's like
happens.
it's like trading. You traded 4 billion guys just to get their one
One
like
guy.
minor guy.
It's like
But was it
Like
worth it?
the guy that isn't even in charge. They just kind of get the guy. Get
It's
a
like
But it
that.
random
was
guy.
most certainly not worth it.
It's like that thing of like what is it, like when Joseph Stalin heard that his son Yakov was captured. He just
And
doesn't
Yeah,
care. He just doesn't care. Um,
yeah,
have you seen the GIF where it's the scene from Ratatouille, but it's played backwards? So instead of being like scared, he just like calmly puts it away,
yeah. Seen it,
and it's just that. That's basically what Stalin did. Anyway, we're off.
Mr.
Um,
McNeil. We'll show you that GIF.
It's
when
so good.
you listen to the part, or well, you'll see it eventually.
And
Wow.
right, so Ibrahim Aga gets destroyed up there again, and at this point, Ibrahim Aga just goes, "We're going back to the Kasbah. The Kasbah is the major fortress that that creates Algiers, right? It's the center of Algiers." And he goes, "We're going back to the Kasbah. We're just going to defend Algiers. It's going to be like a wall for nothing shot." But the French still have to go to Borj Moulay Hassan, which is a major fortress that's outside of Algiers, right? That was created in like I don't know. It was ordered to like it was created in 1541 when the Crusade was still going on, and the French kind of or the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V just shows up and goes, "Yeah, I'm gonna fight. That'll be fun." So
Okay, sure.
we ball,
W.
and so the French show up, and they don't even refer to
You
it as
know,
Borj. The French show up, right, and they don't even refer to it as Borj Moulay Hassan. They immediately rename it to Fort de l'Empereur, right? Because they want to rename it after
right?
Charles V because they don't care about the Algerians, right? So what is inside though is a garrison of 2,000 soldiers. 800 of them are janissaries, right? And there are probably around like 200 cannons inside the fortress, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a giant battery inside, and they've got 800 elite forces right that. And as soon as they arrive, the janissaries just start hammering them as many shells as they can, right? Just
Because
boom, boom,
Janissaries,
boom, 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 boom. And the French kind of like dig in and wait for their field artillery to arrive, which remember, this is like Napoleon guns, like some of the best guns in the continent. And they arrive with like their 20 pounders and stuff like that, and they start firing back for like 6 hours, right?
Mm.
For 6 hours, they just throw shells at each other, right? And the garrison inside the Borj, inside the fortress, sorry, they have to leave. It's not because they've been shattered. It's not because they're out of ammunition. It's because the French have destroyed all of the merlins on their fortress, which means that they have no place to stand while they're loading the guns. Right?
Yeah, I'm about to say.
There's no safe
okay,
place for
Adam.
them to be. Yeah.
I need to ask you, how long have we been running so far?
We have been running for 42 minutes.
Okay, so let's get to the
So
end
we
of the
should
French
probably
invasion.
finish up this part.
So yeah, it's okay, right?
You've been on this part for a while.
They blow up tons and tons and tons of stuff, right? So the Janissaries go, "Hey, we're gonna leave." So they take all the leftover powder inside the fortress and they set it off at the foundation. It destroys the whole fortress. Basically, it is completely unusable by the French, and the French go, "Hey, we're gonna use it anyway." So they use it to load all of their guns into there, and they start firing at the Kasbah because they can hit the Kasbah of Algiers like immediately there, right? So
Right.
they just start blowing up the Kasbah.
Mm-hmm.
And the Kasbah is, in disarray, whatever. And Hussein Day basically realizes, oh, they've got all that stuff coming our way. I'm just going to surrender. So he sends in a bunch of guys, right, to go talk to them. And the French do what the French are going to do for the rest of Algeria's history. And they go, we are going to burn Algiers to the ground and loot everything if you do not allow us in. And Hussein Day goes, okay, you guys can come in. So on July 5th, 1830, Hussein Day allows the French to enter in, and they occupy it at 12 p.m.
It's basically a surrender, right?
It's a major surrender. Algeria as a state is gone. So,
Yep.
The French.
And
So, the French say,
the French,
yes, sir.
the French are like, okay, we're gonna kind of leave you guys alone, and then they don't, right?
Yeah.
Like,
So,
not that's correct, right? So
we're
they
going to
kind of
leave
just
this. We're
loot
going to leave.
everywhere.
Yes. So
They loot they loot all of the houses and are like, yo, I kind of like this.
people
And
are
then
murdered. People are
they arrest, murder, all this crap.
in
I can't say that word. It's school.
1830, right? There's a report from 1833 that says from a French guy who was there to observe. He says something along the lines of, "We have outdone in barbarity the barbarians." Right? 50 million francs are stolen from Algerian citizens. Right? So
Mm-hmm.
and people are murdered, people are shot. It's what
Mm.
the French do in Algeria. So
It's the French. You can't expect them to be civil. There's the French. Come on now.
this is why you need to spell them with air quotes.
You
Anyway, so
the
the French.
the only way hold on. The only way that the French are civil is if they're under German rule.
No. under
No.
Roman rule.
It actually
Roman.
affected them.
Hey.
Roman.
So I'm gonna
Roman.
guess that this doesn't exactly lead to
Any